All right, well, once again, we're excited that you're here. Thank you again for just appreciating us as a pastor and staff this month. And I just so appreciate you being part of Oasis Church this morning, especially as we kick off a series called What Happy Couples Know. What Happy Couples Know. And so I'm excited for this. If you want to follow along in the notes, it'll be there at oasisnfl.info. And I'm looking forward to jumping in. And once again, we have this reaction to a relationship series, a couple series. Maybe the ladies are like, finally, a relationship series, looking forward to jumping into this. And maybe the guys are like, you know what, I need to find another church to go to for a few weeks, right? So maybe again, there's that kind of different reaction that we have. But here's again, I believe that all of us, we believe that marriage, we treat it a lot like the car that we have. And what I mean by that is every single one of us, guys and girls, men and women, when it comes to our relationships, when it comes to our dating, when it comes to our marriages, we just want to get in the car and have it work. Right? We just want to get in and turn it on and have it get us where we want to get to. And we don't want to really discuss it. So some of us, again, we're like, you know what? If marriage is working, why do we need to have this series? And the reason, again, is just like with our car. Sometimes you hear a little rattle or a little squeak that's not there. Or sometimes your car is on the side of the road. And in that moment, that's when we need to actually talk about it and get it fixed. And sometimes, again, maybe that's where our relationships are right now. Maybe there's some squeaks and rattles in your relationship. And say, you know, we need to get this settled. Maybe we need to talk about this. Maybe your relationship's on the side of the road and it needs some emergency help along the way. And so we want to be a people that say, hey, listen, what if we talk about it before the car breaks down? Like, what if we talk about it before we actually need emergency help? And so that's what this series is all about. And just so we're kind of clear again, I know we have all kind of different backgrounds here, or maybe different life stages that we're at right now. It's called What Happy Couples Know, but what we're going to talk about, it actually applies to every relationship. Again, if you're dating, if you're part of a family, if you're part of friends, every single one of us can apply the truths we're going to hear in different ways and different levels of our lives. And so I believe here, again, as we get into this, I've found out some things and learned some things as I have been preparing for this. And so I think this will be helpful for those who are married, those who are in committed relationships, to say, okay, I wish I had learned this earlier, but now that I've learned it, I can apply it. And for those who are single, maybe those who are teens or adults, say, listen, hey, we can add this to our toolbox now as we kind of move forward into relationships in the future. So I'm excited to jump in. This is going to be a 3-week conversation, all right? So today we're setting the table. We're really kind of laying the foundation for where we want to go in this series. And so I really encourage you to come back each and every week. So when it comes to our relationships, we want to be mindful of something. You and I, we bring lots of things to a relationship. We bring lots of things to every single relationship we have. And what you and I bring to every relationship is we bring our hopes, our dreams, and our desires. You and I, every relationship we have, we bring, here's how we want to experience life. Here's how I envision my life to go. And here's the desire that I have in my life. And every single one of us, we have a box, and we bring it to every single relationship we have. Now, if you are married, hopefully you've talked about what's in your box. If you are dating, now is a good time to say, hey, what are some of your hopes, dreams, and desires? Because every single one of us, we have this in our box. And again, in a family relationship, every one of us have, okay, here's what I think should happen in life, and here's what I envision life turning out for me. And these things cover all sorts of things. Probably the main thing, again, that we talk about every year with Financial Peace University, every single one of us have ideas about how we should spend the money that we have. Here's how we're going to spend it. Here's how I think it should be spent in our life. And every single one of us, again, we want to know, okay, well, you know what? I think we should maybe save some of the money that we have in our lives. And we all have hopes, dreams, and desires. And some people say, well, you know what? Saving, we'll save in the future. Let's spend what we got right now, and let's take care of what we got right now. We'll worry about that later. And some people say, well, you know what, I really want to get ahead, and I've been to Financial Peace University, I've taken the course a couple of times, and I think we need to live on a budget. And so some people hear the word budget, and they're like, it feels like an allowance. It feels like you're limiting me and what I'm supposed to do. And it really goes back to all of us have hopes, dreams, and desires, even when it comes to our money. And so when it comes to relationship, we want to go, okay, hey, how much money are you planning on meeting? How much money are you planning on making? How much money do you think we need to live off of this year? And do you think we can, are you going to be a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad? And is we going to be a one income family? Or what is your dream and desire? We kind of want to all have those conversations because every single one of us have a hope and a dream and desire when it comes to our money. And speaking of money, again, we kind of want to know, okay, well, where are we going to live? And where are we gonna kind of, after we get married or as we're in this committed relationship, where are we looking forward to, and where are we gonna go there? So we want to live. And so people say, well, you know what, I'm okay to rent. I'm okay, that way that keeps our money fluid and we're not necessarily locked in long term. We can move around. Other people say, no, I don't think we should rent. I think we should own. I think we should really put some roots down and do that. And some say, well, you know what, I think, 1 bedroom or 2 bedrooms is gonna be good for us. And people say, no, we need a big house on big property, and I need to have all my toys that we're going to have out there because I'm not going to budget very much. And we're going to have a bunch of stuff, right? We're going to have all that there, and we all have our hopes, dreams, and desires. And it's good to talk about those things. It's good to be aware of these things as well. When it comes to the house, we want to go, okay, well, how many bedrooms do we need? Because we're going to fill these bedrooms up, right? We're going to have, a family. We're going to start a family. It's just us in this relationship. We want to do this. And so some people say, well, you know what? I don't want to have any kids. Right? That's a reality that someone has. We need to talk about that ahead of time because some people say, well, you know what? I don't envision being a mom or a dad. That's an important conversation to have. Some say, you know what? I think we should have one little baby here. We're gonna go for one. Some say, you know what? We're going to go for, we're going to go for 2 here, we're going to do that. So say, well, we're going to keep trying until we get a girl, right? So we're going to do that, right? So, and some going to say, you know what, we're going to have a big property one day. We're going to have a farm. We need to have like a whole bunch of babies, right? And so we all have plans, right? We all have this desire, like, okay, here's what we're going to be about, and here's what we're going to have, and here's how big our family needs to be. And these are the hopes and dreams that we have as well. Well, along with having a house, you kind of want to go, okay, well, who's gonna do the chores, right? How are we going to break up taking care of the house? And, well, I hope, again, that I'll take care of the outside, and maybe you'll take care of the inside, or, and you'll do these certain things, and you'll have these priorities that you'll take care of, and this is kind of what I envision you doing, and here's what I envision me doing, and we all have hopes and dreams of how we're going to take that. Maybe we just say, you know what, we're just going to buy this, we're just going to put it out there. It's called Bless This Mess, all right? We're just going to have this out here. We're not really care about, cleaning a lot, and we're going to keep things away, and we'll pile stuff up on every available surface in the house, and this is just, we're lived in, we're okay, and people can just like it or not like it. And so sometimes, again, we all have hopes, dreams, and desires when it comes to these things of how we live. Well, when it comes to how we live, again, we want to go, okay, well, how are we going to spend our time? What are we going to do here, and how much do I want to spend with you? On an average day, I'll spend this amount of time with you. On an average day, or maybe average week, I'll take some time to go out with my friends, and you take some time to go out with your friends, and then I need a certain number of alone time where I just me, just myself, this is kind of what I envision how I'm going to spend my time. And we all have our hopes and dreams and desires about how we're going to spend time when it comes on a week-to-week basis in a relationship. But not only that, as we get married and committed, now we have the calendar, right? We have calendar, right? Here's how we're going to spend our weeks, like here's how we're going to spend our vacation, here's what we're going to do. And you know what we'll do? Some of our spouse might say, you know what, I only need 3 holidays a year to be with my family. I'll take Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter. And every other holiday, you can have Halloween, you can do St. Patrick's Day. Will you do your family for that? We'll do Canadian Thanksgiving. I don't even know when that is, but we'll do that. We'll do that like your family, right? And so we want to talk about, okay, how are we going to calendar? How are we going to spend our time? Because all of us, we have our hopes and dreams and desires of what we want to do with this as well. And when it comes to calendaring and vacation, some people go, well, you know what? We're going to travel, right? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to travel. And some people say, you know what? Let's just stay in Florida. I mean, we live where people come to vacation. We live in paradise. Let's just stay here. Some people say, you know what? We're going to go to America. We're going to travel around America. Some people say America. But what about the whole globe? We're going to travel there. I mean, and even in Florida, we have to have big discussions. Like, are we a Disney family? Are we a Universal family? Or like, are we a SeaWorld family? Like, what are we going to do? Where are we spending our money? Where are we spending our vacations? What are we going to do? How are we going to do that as well? And every single one of us, again, we have our hopes, dreams, and desires. And when it comes to, again, as couples, I mean, every guy has a dream of what he hopes his wife will not wear to bed. Just not wear to bed, right? To do that. And maybe the wife says, you know what? Well, he just wants me to be comfortable. I'm just going to enjoy sleeping all right. And so we all have those dreams and desires that we have there as well. But invariably, again, because we have these hopes, dreams, and desires, we have all these things that we're working through. Sometimes, again, there's going to be conflict. And sometimes, again, we're going to go, okay, well, how are we going to deal with this? Like, how are we going to deal with the conflict? How are we going to deal with the different hopes, dreams, and desires that we have? And some people say, well, you know what I think we should do? I think we should just get it all out on the table and just share everything, exactly what we're thinking right there in the moment. And usually, since we marry opposites, the opposite says, well, you know what, that sounds incredibly insensitive if I share everything. Well, I don't want to hurt you in that, so I'm going to hold some things back and to do that. Again, there might be some say, you know what, when we have a conflict, let's just be loud and get it out there. And some people say, well, you know what, and I prefer to keep it quiet. We're going to handle this calmly, and we're not going to do this. And maybe, again, one spouse says, well, you know, after conflict resolution, I thought that's what sex was for, right? I thought, you know, we get in a fight, and then we make up, and we make out. You know, it's going to be a good thing, right? We're going to do that. And so we all have our hopes, dreams, and desires that we bring to the relationship. We all do this. We all have these things that we work through. And here's the thing. A lot of the times, again, that we have when it comes to these hopes, dreams, and desires, they are reactions to the homes that we grew up in. We might be influenced by things we see on TV or on Netflix. Maybe we see other couples. Maybe we've seen this relationship that's in a book. But ultimately, all of us, at some level, we build and fill our box of hopes, dreams, and desires as a reaction to the homes that we personally experienced, to the homes that we grew up in. Again, these things might be something that we're trying to recreate or things that we're trying to avoid. Perhaps, again, you grew up in a house where your dad or your stepdad and mom or stepmom were incredibly involved in your life as a kid growing up. You say, you know what, I hope, again, that the person I marry, they'll be incredibly involved in this. Or maybe you saw the opposite, where it was not necessarily even abuse, but just like an absentee, like away from that. And you say, you know what, when I get married and we have a family, we are not going to have that situation in my life. My spouse won't just be always at work or always doing something else. They're going to be involved in that. And so every single one of us, we have these reactions to the homes that we grew up in, for good or for bad. Or again, we have this reaction to a relationship that we've been in the past. You see, when it comes to conflict resolution, when it comes to working out some of these things, some of us go, well, you know what? Not only do I have a hope and dream of what we're going to do to resolve conflict or to take care of the calendar or to do certain acts of spending time on our own or with friends or together. Not only do I want those things, but I have a hope and a dream and desire of how I'm going to be treated. Of how people are going to be looking at me in this relationship and how they're going to react to me. And we even say things like this. Listen, here's the thing. When I get married, my wife will never do this. They'll never treat me this way. They'll never say this in public about me. Or we say, you know, when I get married, you know, my husband, because that my husband loves me, he will always do this. He will always treat me this way. He will always do these things. And again, for good or for bad, we fill our box with trying to recreate or avoid things that we've been a part of, that we personally experienced. So here's the thing for us when it comes to living those things and dealing with our hopes and dreams and desires. As we put all of our stuff in, as we recognize all these things that are about us, all these things that are going into our relationships, here's the thing. Ultimately, my hopes, my dreams, and my desires, it's really all about me. Like I am in this box, basically. And every single one of us, we bring this box to our relationships. We have this in a family relationship. We have this in friendships. We have this in dating. And yes, we have this even in marriage. And ultimately we say, no, here's the thing. These are my hopes, my dreams, and my desires. And what we do is we take our box and we arrive at the altar. And we say, I do. Or we decide to move in together. And we say, yep, I got one more box I got to bring in. And here's all of me in this box. And we're part of a family. We say, you know what, I hear what you're doing, I hear what you're saying, but make sure that my box gets met with as well. And again, I'm not saying this is bad, right? We all have hopes, we all have dreams, we all have desires, we all have this, how we envision our life. But here's the thing, when we give our box to somebody else, to us, it's hopes, dreams, and desires. However, to them, it becomes expectations. Here's what I'm expecting you to do. Here's what I'm expecting of you in this relationship. I'm expecting you to make all of my hopes and dreams and desires come true. I'm expecting you to come through for my life, for me. So what's an expectation? Well, an expectation is the strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future. So you first move in and we're in an apartment. Yeah, we're here right now. But one day, we're going to have a house. One day, we're going to be doing this. You're struggling to have children. Yeah, right now it's just a couple. But you know what? One day, we'll have a full house. One day, there'll be the kids that we're waiting for. One day, we'll do that. Yeah, you know what? We're not where we want to be right now financially, but I'm just waiting for him to get the job, and then one day we will get there. So what are expectations? There's a strong belief that something will happen. Something's missing right now, but that'll change in the future. And so here's the thing. You and I, we have our hopes and dreams and desires, but we hand it off to the person we're in a relationship, or we hand it off to our family members, or the one we're dating. We're saying, hey, these are my hopes, dreams, and desires, but to you and to that person you hand it off to, it feels like expectations. And oh, by the way, that person in a relationship, they're handing their box to you as well. And so together, we're both feeling this burden, this understanding that I have to come through for that person. I have to meet these expectations. And here's the thing about expectations. Expectations create a debt-debtor relationship. When I said I do, I gave you this box. And now you owe me. You owe me what's in this box. You owe me making my hopes and dreams and desires come true. And when you owe somebody something, what we realize again is that removes and eliminates certain things. If you owe somebody something, what you eliminate is you actually eliminate the possibility of unconditional love. You eliminate the possibility of love. Because here's the thing. Now again, when anyone does anything for you in relationship or in your marriage, your spouse does something for you, well, why are they doing that? Well, because they owe me. Because that's what I'm expecting of them. And when we in turn do something for the person that we're in a relationship with, at some level, we kind of get this understanding, okay, I'm doing this not because I want to or because I love you, but because I'm expected to do these things for you. I'm expected to meet the needs, the desires, the dreams, the hopes that you have. I'm expected to do those things. And when we find ourselves in debt or a debtor relationship, we eliminate what love is actually designed to do. Here's the thing. How do we treat people who do what they're supposed to do? How do we treat people who do what they're supposed to do? I mean, we pull up to the drive-through window, and we've already done our order, and we give them the money in the window, and they give us the food. They don't say, hey, thank you for paying. No, that's just what we're supposed to do, right? There's no really gratitude needed. It's like there's a transaction that's going on here, right? So you and I, again, we're renting, and we send the landlord the check every month. The landlord does not send a flowery, romantic card back to you. Like, thank you so much for paying the rent on time. It was awesome, right? No, that's just what you're supposed to do, right? And when you and I, maybe again it's a mortgage, like you pay faithfully for 17 years, you never hear from that mortgage company. You miss a couple payments, and they're writing you all the time. Like, hey, you're supposed to be doing this, right? You're supposed to do it. But there's very little gratitude. Why? Because this is a debtor relationship. And sometimes, again, we bring this idea of, no, listen. You're the husband. You're supposed to do this. You're the men. Men are supposed to do these things. No, you're the wife. No, you're the woman I'm dating. You're supposed to do this thing. Why? Because women do these things. And what we do again is we remove what love. We say, listen, it's not about love anymore. It's about expectation. This is what you're supposed to do. And we got to be very careful again in relationship, because happy couples know that expectations create this dead relationship. And we have to be very careful to understand, okay, that we're not expecting someone or expecting our spouse to do it just because they're supposed to do that. You see, I owe you eliminates I love you. Here's the thing. If it's Valentine's Day and you're supposed to give flowers to your significant other, well, in that moment, you're not saying, I want to give you flowers. It's expected. And so in that moment, what's happening? Well, Valentine's Day, you wake up and you're in the negative, right? You give flowers, that gets you to 0. It doesn't get you above, right? It just gets you there, right? And it's not just Valentine's Day, it's anything like that. Birthdays or any special celebrations, all right? If there's an expectation that you have to do this, then in that moment, we're not loving. We're not wanting to do it. We're just getting back to 0. And so maybe again, your situation is, you make the lunch for the kids every day, and that's just what you're supposed to do. And in that moment, we forget to show gratitude. Why? Because we expect you to do that. And in that moment, we forget to say thank you. And to realize again that what you don't have to do any of that. But because you do this, and because you've done this every day this school year, and because of that, listen, thank you. Thank you for all you add to our family. Thank you for all you added. So we want to be very careful of that, because if I owe someone, I can never get ahead. And that's why when we have conversation with people, especially when their marriage is the squeaks and the rattles, and their relationship might be on the side of the road, we hear things like, well, I can never do enough to satisfy him. I can never do enough. It seems like no matter what I do, she's never pleased. She's never happy with me. And in that moment, what have we done? We've eliminated love, because we're saying this is all about what you owe me. What you owe me. Now here's what's interesting. When it comes to people that we're in a relationship with, our boyfriend, our girlfriend, our friends, our spouses, listen, they don't owe us anything. And we don't owe them anything. Listen, we all volunteered for this job. Like, we volunteered to date you. You volunteered to marry me, all right? So in that moment, it's not about owing. It's not about what you're supposed to do. We have to find a common ground to work through and deal with these things together. Now remember, these are my hopes, my dreams, and my desires. So who is actually in this box? It's me, okay? And in your box, you are actually in your box. So each of us take me in our box and we swap them. Make my dreams come true. Fulfill all my desires. And eventually, the me's collide. Eventually, the me's have an issue. Because of pride and selfishness, right? And because we're human, we're sinners, right? We bring this, and eventually there's a butting of heads. And eventually, hey listen, me wants this amount of time, me wants this amount of time, there's not enough time. Eventually we're going to have an issue. Calendaring, house, family, kids, eventually me's collide. So when me's collide, we have 5 reactions. 5 reactions that we ultimately do and decide to do in relationship. The first reaction is we leave. Me's collide, and my hopes and my dreams and desires are not being met, so I'm out. And we're going to break up, and I'm going to move out, and we're going to do our own thing. And we basically take our box and say, see ya. I'm out. And we understand what this is, and we've all been there for dating, and maybe some of us have been there for marriage, and it's a reaction, and it's an extreme reaction. And again, we are for marriages. We're for your marriage. We're for marriages for North Florida. We don't want leaving to be an option. So what we tend to do, maybe another reaction, say, well, you know what, I'm not going to go that extreme, but what we try to do is, second reaction, we seek to win. We seek to win. What I mean by that is we seek to make sure our hopes and dreams and desires are met. And so what we do is we say, listen, hey, you know what? I have your box. Your box is great. My box is great. All right, we're going to do my things my way, and just either through bullying or through obstinance or whatever it might be, where I'm going to win. But here's the thing. If you win, someone else loses. Someone else is not victorious. And so we understand this. And so we're talking about what happy couples know. Let me give you 4 quick things that are the keys to an unfulfilling relationship. All right? We don't want to do these. But if you want an unfulfilling relationship, do these 4 things. All right? Be the one who seeks to convince that your way is always right. Be the one that gives conviction. Like, hey, I prayed about this, and we're going to my family's house this Christmas, right? We're doing that, right? So you got the extra spiritual conviction there, right? Be the one that tries to control everything. Conversation, money, everything. And be the one that tries to coerce. Be the one that manipulates. You do those 4 things, you'll have an unfulfilling relationship. And again, these are reactions. When these collide, well, we leave or we win. And if I win, that means you lose. And at some level, that person has said, I'm okay with that. And that's not okay. That's not okay. So what's the 3rd reaction? Well, we conform. We simply say, well, you know what I'll do? You know what? Yeah, I know these are my hopes and dreams and desires, but they're not aligning with you, so I'll just change. I'll just change who I am. I'll just change what my dreams were. Yeah, I wanted 2 kids, but I guess we'll just do 1. Or yeah, I thought I'd be stay at home, but I guess I'll go to work. Or yeah, I thought we'd have a house by this time, but I guess we'll just hit it. And we just conform. And in that moment, again, what are we doing? Well, we think we're helping, but actually we're actually losing respect for the one we see in the mirror. And then ultimately we're losing respect in that relationship. Because we said it's not, I'll just do what you want to do. I'll just go your way. I'll just do your thing. And so conforming, again, you might think, well, at least, no, that's not what happy couples do. So the 4th level is this. We compromise. We might go, okay, well, compromise, that's the good thing, right? That's a good thing. And it can be a good thing, but let me just break it down for why, for today's discussion, we don't want to seek to compromise. First of all, compromising really easily turns into scorekeeping. Well, we did last time what you want to do, today we do what I want to do. And last time we did this vacation, now we get to do my vacation. And last time we spent the money this way, and now we spent the money this way. And last time, and very easily, instead of again about love, it's scorekeeping. We're keeping score. And again, in that moment, there's very little trust, very little intimacy. It's all about, well, what's the paper say? Well, we'll just do that, all right? We'll just do that. I guess it's your turn now. And again, this is low, it's contractual. It's follow the rules. This is what we have to do. And so that's one reason why compromise is not where we want to go for today's discussion. And secondly is this. Some people say, well, you know what? I'm committed to the marriage. I'm committed to this relationship. And again, on the face of it, that sounds right. However, no one marries marriage. We don't date a commitment. There's another person in this relationship. And the goal is not to be committed to the marriage, but to be committed to the person who has hopes, dreams, and desires. And to say, you know what, there's another me in this relationship besides me. And I want to make sure that I'm committed to them more so than the relationship. Again, to say, well, we're going to stay married for the kids. No, there's someone else that you're married to that's bigger than even the commitment. And the goal is to go after that. And so what's the 5th reaction? Well, this is the 5th reaction. This is what happy couples know. We decide to lose. We decide to lose. We decide, listen, for an understanding of this, we're going to take our hopes, dreams, and desires and take the expectations that I'm expected to do, and together we're going to decide to lose. Now what in the world does that mean? Well, in John 13:34, we see Jesus giving a commandment. And he says, I am giving you, as my followers, a new commandment. So he's speaking to the disciples, and he says, I want you to love each other. The disciples are like, we heard that before. And Jesus is like, hold on, I'm not done. Right? Just so you know. All right? I want you to love each other just as I have loved you. You should love each other. You see, happy couples know that there's an example of how we're supposed to love each other in relationship as people who are dating or married or even inside of a family. There's an example that's given to us in Christ. And we see again that in Christ, He gives us what we don't deserve. He shows mercy. And at the same time, He gives us, mercy is He withholds what we do deserve. Right? He gives us mercy. At the same time, He gives us what we don't deserve. He gives us grace. And so we see this example given to us in Jesus of what this looks like to love someone the way that Jesus has loved us. In Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 and 2, it simply says this: imitate God, therefore, in everything you do, because you are His dear children. Then he says this: live a life filled with love, following the example of Christ. He loved us and offered Himself as a sacrifice for us, a pleasing aroma to God. So the fifth reaction, when needs collide, is simply decide we are going to lose. Happy couples know that they owe each other everything, but are owed nothing in return. Happy couples know that they owe each other everything, but are owed nothing in return. And so what that changes, it turns the marriage into, changes it into a submission competition. It's a race to the end of the line, which sounds miserable and sounds scary, but that's what happy couples know. You might say, well, how in the world do I do that? You got to come back next week for us to continue our discussion together. Let's close in a word of prayer. Father God, we just come before you, God, and we just need wisdom. Lord, we know that every single one of us, even in talking about this, we all have hopes, dreams, and desires. Some of those we've talked about, some of those we've kept hidden. Lord, if we bring our lives to every relationship, and we hand it over and we say, okay, it's up to you to make these come true. And so, Father, I pray again that you just give us wisdom to know how to react and to love the way that you first loved us. And to understand again how high the stakes are and what we can do as we dive into your word and go further in figuring out how you wired us. God, we thank you for relationships. It's your idea. God, when they work, awesome, it's the best thing in the world. So, Father, we thank you for that. But Lord, give us wisdom when we start to hear the squeak and the rattle, and perhaps even when it's broken down. And God, give us the ability to know how we can live the way you would have us to live, to honor you and to love the people in our lives. Thank you once again. In your name we pray.